Coach Yoder. We just had a great conversation on coaching and your fantastic perspective on leadership. I love it. Let's dive into recruiting. Let's talk about how you evaluate. When you're looking at recruits, I know you prefer to see kids in person. You love having them on campus when you can work them out one-on-one. What matters more early to you? Is it the tools? Is it production? Is it the intangibles? Is it a work ethic? Are there things that really jump out at you that draw you to a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, number one, it's going to start with are are they a good fit for Mount Mercy? Are
Yeah.
they so the academic part of it and how they do there is going to be the number one thing to okay, that's in place. Now we'll move on. But what I'm looking for is somebody that really loves softball, that's willing to work hard. We're looking for obviously there's certain people like if you need a pitcher or you need a catcher or whatever, but we're looking for utility type people that can do a lot of different things.
If you
And
had seven shortstops, you'd be happy.
yeah, absolutely, because you can move them anywhere. And
That's right.
I tell all the kids, what you did in high school or travel ball may not be what's best for you here. And until we get you here and see where everybody's at,
Right.
the more things you can do, the better chance you're going to have. And so we're always looking for versatile people that love the game and are just very athletic and willing to be coached.
Isn't that the key?
Yep.
How do some of those things, I'll throw a couple of them at you one at a time. How did they manifest themselves when you're watching? How does that love of softball show itself for you?
Oh, body language is like a big old billboard, isn't it?
Isn't
Right?
it?
When things aren't going right and the head hangs and they're pouting or the way they treat their teammates, that stands out real easy. But the girl that's on the bench and if she strikes out, it's like run back and help your person on deck, right? Like
Right.
go help your teammate and just keep playing hard. And if you make an error, you make an error and you move on. And you can just see the smile on their face, them being in the dugout and how they cheer, how they are with their parents after the game, all of those things. You can just, I don't know if it's a feeling that I have, but for me, it's pretty easy to see who really
Yeah.
loves the game and who's just kind of doing it.
Well, there's a difference between loving the game and loving success,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
If they're not succeeding, all of a sudden that love goes away. We lost. I don't know if I love this anymore. I struck out twice. I don't know if I love this anymore.
Right.
Love transcends all that, doesn't it?
Yeah. And they can win the game, but go for two, so they're not happy, even though the team
Right.
won the game, right? And
Yeah,
so that's not loving the game there, right?
that's right. I love that. How do you see work ethic? What jumps out at you when you know they've got a coachable attitude, but they're working. This is a kid that grinds.
Yeah, they're always ready and they're always doing what they're supposed to do. They're never standing around. Like, I don't know, it's hard to say in a game
Right.
necessarily whether it's a work ethic, although you can see in a pregame or in their warm-ups or how they go through some things and how do you play catch? Like you
Yeah.
just
Oh
going out there
yeah.
and going through the motions, or are you
Yep.
are you focusing and trying to get ready to play a game and
Yeah.
things like that. And so um, you just see them helping their teammates, getting ready. I think it's just something that I don't know. I guess I've never been asked to explain that, but I can see it, right?
It's hard to explain, but I always like getting people's opinion, kind of what they see, because it's so fascinating that so many kids don't understand what you're looking for. They don't understand that
Yeah.
you're watching warm-ups. You're watching them in the
Oh
dugout,
yeah.
before the game. And you're trying to see, is that love there? Is because if there's
Yeah.
no love, the work ethic isn't going to be there, right?
Yeah. Watch them on deck, right? Are they
That's
out there
right.
trying to time the pitcher? Or are they coming out of the dugout when the other batter's already got a strike or two on them and they're putting their gloves on and not even looking at the pitcher? They're not preparing themselves for that next at bat. That's not but the ones that are excited, they're out there when they're ready. They're waiting in the entry, another player ahead, and they're
Yeah.
they're ready to get out there, and they're trying to time the pitcher, and they're working on things. So just little things like that are, when you go out in between innings and you're going to get a ground ball and you're just going to pick it up and lob it over, or are you gonna take a rep and try and, make sure you're ready to go and get better?
Yeah,
All of those little things where, you can make yourself better if you take advantage of the opportunity, but some of them just go through the motions. There we get back to intent, like we talked about before.
yeah,
People that do things with intent, that translates into work ethic for me.
I agree. It's funny. I always told my staff I want junkyard dogs on the basketball court. I wanted those kids that would, hit and grind and run and work and,
Yep, the gym rats,
the
right?
gym rats.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you when you put that in the softball context?
Well, the cage rats, right? They always want to be out. They always want to be hitting. They do want to play catch, or
Yeah,
they want some extra ground balls, or they want, whatever it is. They can't quite get enough, or they feel like something's not quite right, so they want to, what's going on? Do I fix
right.
it? And others, it was a bad day, and
Yeah.
whatever. So
I call them the one more kids. Yeah, one
yeah,
more ground ball, coach. One more pitch. One more hit. You
yeah.
know, one more swing.
Yep. And
You
then
like
and then I say you don't get that one more in a game, right? So
that's
I'm
right.
not going to give it to you here, but
Yeah,
we try to help them out. But
that's pretty cool.
yep.
Um, what separates a recruit who gets your attention? We're talking about all these kids that grab your attention and doing those little things compared to the kid that gets the offer from
Uh,
you.
I'm sorry. Say it again now.
Well, you're recruiting lots of kids.
Right.
I'm
Oh yeah.
guessing you look at hundreds of kids.
Yep.
There's kids that you really like, and then there's kids that you give an offer to. What's the difference between those two?
Um,
What makes you go, I got to lock this kid up?
yeah, I think probably at the end, the type of offer is going to be skill set type
Yeah,
of things, and how they're going to fit into the team, and how much I think they can do over a 4 year. Like this person's definitely going to be an impact for us, and they're going to keep getting better. And I think that that's the kind of girl I want on the team. But there's you know there's a lot of girls that aren't as good that have all of those things, right?
yeah,
And so I guess at the end, the ultimate thing is going to be skill set, but they all have to have that other piece around it
yeah.
before.
They better fit your team and your
It's
school
gotta,
first, right?
yep, it's got to fit the school. They've got to academics. Again, we talk about all the time during the recruiting process that academics is going to be number one. And you're never going to miss a class for a practice or anything like that. Games we'll work on and we'll work through, but at the end of the day, academics is number one, and we're super passionate about softball, so that's going to be tucked up underneath there. But
Yeah,
every kid that comes here, I tell them they get to play softball for 4 more years, and then they're going to work for 45. So what do you
exactly.
think your priority needs to be? And I want to get you through here. I want to get you graduated or on to grad school, and they've got to fit that mode. And if they can fit that, and they have enough passion about softball that they're willing to do all of these things, I really want to make it clear that this is not easy.
Yeah,
This is extremely hard. And once I get to the point where I'm comfortable with knowing that they want to put in all this work, that they're going to do the academics, they're going to do all the softball, then I think the only difference becomes what is the skill set at that point.
all right. I'm going to put you in a situation here. Let's say you're recruiting a bunch of girls, and they all have 3.8 GPAs. They all have 27 ACTs. They can all play shortstop. They can all pitch or catch, and on top of it, the skills are there. What are the things you walk away from? What are some of those red flags where you're like, yeah, that's not going to work here?
Yeah, again, that there's a lot of body language things that will come into play for sure. Um, when it comes down to little things like what are the parents like, and
Uh,
not recruiting parents, but sometimes parents won't let their kids do a lot of talking. And, is this, my
Is this how
get
it's going to be?
recruiting the child or the parent here?
That's
And
right.
that sends up a little bit of a red flag, because I sometimes when those kids get away from that, they're a little bit different. And so you don't really know what you're getting. And so I like when I'm getting good interactions with the actual player and we're making a connection. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Um, and if we're not making a connection or there seems to be a disconnect, that might be a sort of a red flag or
Are you honest about that when you feel that?
uh,
You say, I don't know if we're a good fit for you. Does it come out like that?
um no, not I mean that would be a rare thing.
Yeah.
I try to I don't want to judge we don't get to spend tons of time with them, right? And
Right.
maybe things aren't right. Like I don't want to jump to a conclusion, right? And so I
Right.
keep trying to make this like let's see if we can make it happen, but it either does or it doesn't, right?
Yeah. You seem like you get pretty invested before you might make that offer. So you know if they're going to be a good fit for your team before you get
Oh
too
yeah.
deep in the woods with them.
Yeah, we usually with us, it's going to be a two-step at least process, and that's again why I like kids from Eastern Iowa because they can make that visit,
Yeah.
right? It's a little bit. I do have a girl from California on the team, and she came, but it's she comes once and we do it all at once. But a girl from more of the area, it's going to be more of a two-step. We're going to bring them in, and they're going to do all the school things and the academic things, and they'll
Yeah.
talk to me and hear about the program, and if all of that's hey, I can see myself here. Okay, now you're going to come in. We'll do a workout. You're going to maybe watch a practice. You're going to go eat with some of my girls so you can talk to them about what's coach like, what's the
That's right.
time commitment like, what's going on. And so after they've been through all of that, then it just kind of weeds itself out whether they're going to be a good fit or not. But I always tell them if you come to Mount Mercy and you're excited and you get hurt the first day in practice and you can't play softball anymore, I want to make sure that you're still happy you're at Mount Mercy. Like
Yeah.
you need to pick the school where you're most comfortable. That's where you're going to be most successful. And it's softball is super important, but it can't be everything. It has to be the total fit. You have to be comfortable with your teammates, with your coaches, with the academics, with everything. And it's by the time you get through all of that, you have a pretty good idea of and that's usually when we'll make that offers after that second visit. I don't very rarely just throw out anything unless sometimes if they're further away, you do have to do things a little bit different.
That's right. You do because those kids need a little bit more. They need to understand the distance that, they're not driving home every weekend. They got
Right.
to get on an airplane if they want to see mom and dad.
Yeah.
Um, Coach, I think there's a lot of confusion from families about NAIA and how financial aid scholarship works. Would you mind kind of getting in the weeds with us a little bit and kind of talking about what that full cost looks like at Mount Mercy and what you're able to do to help make that
Sure.
affordable so families understand? Don't look at the sticker price.
Yeah,
That's
for
nobody,
sure.
hardly anybody pays that. How do
Yeah.
you go through that? What's your process with that?
Yeah. And nobody pays that sticker price, right? So I
Right.
mean it's all you have to get in there and you have to do a lot of figuring out. And with NAIA, we do offer academic scholarships and we offer athletic scholarships. And then there's some small other things that you can pick up along the way, obviously. But the two main ones, the main one is going to be academics. So the better you can do with your grades, obviously, is going to get you more money, right?
Right.
And then there's going to be a softball scholarship. But there's also other scholarships out there that we try to look for to make our school more affordable. So again, if you're from Iowa, we have a thing called the Iowa Tuition Grant, which is more of a middle class type thing. There's Pell Grants that all states have a federal type thing, but the Iowa Tuition Grant, some of our kids will fit into that. That's going to give them a lot of money. We have a niche of working with healthcare things. And so I have a lot of nurses on my team, which is extremely difficult
What a
discipline
challenge.
to
Yeah.
play softball and to do. But
Yeah.
we have some great programs. We have two large hospitals here in Cedar Rapids, and we have a thing called Mercy Ready, which is Mercy Hospital. And you do work for them a little bit as you go along, but they give you a huge chunk of money to pay for your education. But at the end of your graduation, you have to work here in Cedar Rapids for them for 2 years. So it's a commitment type thing. But when you start to get, an academic, an athletic, maybe that nursing thing, an Iowa tuition grant. Well, school, you're almost getting into a full ride type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but that's, if you're not into nursing, then maybe that's not available for you. But there are a lot of ways that we can get it. And I think NAIA, at least Mount Mercy, our price at the end is going to be cheaper than like a state university. Like if you went to the University of Iowa or Iowa State or something like that, usually we're definitely in that. And then depending on what your softball scholarship is, it could be
Yeah.
considerably cheaper. Yeah. So
I think that's the biggest misperception, that public schools are cheaper than private. That
yeah.
I can go to school to Iowa cheaper than Mount Mercy, and I don't even think it's close anymore. Especially with softball scholarship.
Yeah, not with the athletic. If you're getting a nice softball scholarship, you're going to be cheaper.
Yeah, your tuition is right around 36,000. Is that still accurate? Somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 40, but and
Yeah.
then room and board, everything's going to be just over 50 for
What's
everything.
what does what's the average kid in your program end up paying out of pocket? Is there a kind of a range you try and get kids into?
Well, I think the school would say that the average is going to be around 22, 23.
Yeah.
So, but again, with the softball scholarship, that's for your average student. And so the softball scholarship or that Iowa tuition grant or that nursing thing starts to push it all towards
Yeah.
closer to zero. And
Yeah.
so you we don't give full rides. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think there's a lot of full rides. I don't think there's as many full
I
rides
don't
in
think there's
D1 as
any
people
anymore
think there
outside of,
are. And
yeah.
a lot of people are paying for an education. And so at the end of the day, you just need to find out what your final price is going to be.
Yeah.
I don't like to give my final price until I know you're a good fit for me.
And
Right.
you
And
know
so
you
you
want to
need
go
to go
there.
through the process of, because if you're
Yeah.
not interested in being here,
That's right.
I'm
Why
not
would
gonna
I
do
work hard if you
so
got five other options you like better? Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
um and if but it's definitely like they shouldn't just look at that sticker price, like you say.
Yeah.
You find where you're comfortable and then start to get into it. And I think you'll find there's a lot of good small schools out there that can
Yeah.
help you. And even, I'm not that familiar with D3. They don't offer um, athletic scholarships, but
Right.
they seem to be, they're not going to just let us walk away with all the students. They're
No,
competitive too. They
they're
find
competitive
ways.
too. Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And so when I hear about these people walking away from college with $200,000 worth of debt, I'm like, what, where are
Makes
you?
no sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're probably going to have some debt unless you've,
Yeah.
saved or your parents saved and whatever, but it's an investment in yourself. And it's been proven time again that you're going to earn more over a lifetime with a college degree than you will without. And so,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it sounds like Mount Mercy's values through the roof in terms of what you're going to get out of it and
yeah.
what you're going to get out of being a student athlete. And
Yeah.
so it's fantastic.
And yeah, and like again with my niche being in nursing or healthcare, like if you went to the University of Iowa and wanted to play softball, they would say no. Like
Yeah.
you can't do that. Here, let's do it. I do explain, it's going to be hard, but we work around those clinics. If they miss softball, they miss softball. It's okay.
Right.
And we if they have to miss practice because they've got some of that work or clinicals or anything they have to do, that's okay. We'll work around that and we'll make it happen. And nobody's punished for any sort of academic thing. So, we make it work. And it's, I wish more people would look into, especially nursing and things like that. It's just a fantastic opportunity to walk out of here. All our nurses have jobs by the time they leave. And
How do you beat that?
yeah, but it's a lot of work. It's not easy.
That's
And
easy, but
it's,
yeah.
but it can be done.
Pay for what's left on your, pay for your help you pay for your education too on top of it. What a great deal that is.
Yep. Yep.
Coach, do you want potential recruits reaching out to you? And if so, how do you want them to reach out to you?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. We want them to reach out to us. But I also get 25, 30 emails every day, and
Sure.
you can tell which email is generic and which one's just coming through. So I guess, even you can get my phone number pretty easily and my email certainly very easily. And if you can personalize some things, I don't need a long list. Like, tell me you're interested. If you're really interested, then I'm going to try and set up a visit because I want to get to know you. Or,
Yeah.
I do want to see some film, but until I get a girl in here and we actually are face to face and see them,
Yeah.
you just don't know. And, things are very competitive, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. So you've got to stand out a little bit. And so I think if you can personalize those as a recruit, I guess my advice would be don't throw such a broad net like all over the place. Try and narrow your what you want, what do you want to do, what do you want to study, where do you want to actually be at, and then narrow it down and then start to write those coaches, go to a camp or a clinic or go on a visit and ask to speak to the coach or whatever. Send them a personal email and tell them about yourself or a text and a phone call, anything.
Great advice. Yeah, I love that, Coach. How about a piece of advice for parents that have a youngster that want to play college softball? What advice do you have for them?
Um, I would maybe help guide them to, some decisions, but let them do it, especially when it comes to visit day. Let them experience it and let them talk and just try to be an observer for them and then give them advice later or whatever. I think that's the biggest thing. I just see a lot of parents that want to kind of take over and talk for them and things like
Yeah.
that.
You only have so many scholarships. So you want that opportunity when a kid comes to visit. You want to be able to find out if you're a good fit for each other. You want to find out if you want to coach them. And if mom and dad are doing all the talking or micromanaging everything, you never get a sense if that kid's going to fit you. It's
Right.
hard to make an offer to a kid that you didn't get to hear much from.
Right. And that's super important too. But like that second visit, then they get away. I send them with the players or,
Yeah.
get off and do whether it's a bullpen with my pitching coach or maybe hitting with me. Just, I always tell them, you're going to spend a lot of time with us. You want to make sure you're comfortable and the things we're teaching and doing in practice that you're comfortable with that. And then you get a lot more of that interaction again. So that's as much as seeing their skill set, it's being with them and seeing how they react to what you're saying and things like that are all super important.
Well, it goes back to what we talked about in the first segment, how you do such a good job of giving space for kids to learn how to lead, to learn how to communicate. Because if they don't have that space to fill that void, it never gets done. So you're doing the same thing on a visit. You're giving them time with the girls without you. You're giving them time to ask questions and really get to heart of that. And I would imagine you tell your girls to be completely honest.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
for sure. Yep.
Don't sugarcoat
Well,
it.
I
This is
mean,
how it is.
yeah, for sure. And then, this is a big decision for them, biggest decision they're making, right? And they have to feel comfortable with it. And they just, it's my job to get them as much information as I can so that they can make a good choice. And I, usually hope it's Mount Mercy, right?
That's
But
right.
if it's not, then it's not for them. That's fine too. And,
Yeah.
Mount Mercy's not for everybody. And, you got to find where you're most comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's quite a process.
Well, Coach, I can't tell you how much I respect you and what a joy this has been to get to know you. I'm so thankful you're in the world of coaching and you're mentoring and raising these young women and they get to have somebody like you in their life, not just for those 4 years, but long after they're done at Mount Mercy. So thanks for doing this today and thanks for being you.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.